What's up? It's Ali Garced. I'm here in Orlando. I just finished up the Tom Ferry conference for the elite retreat, rather. That's where the students that are in the elite tier of the coaching go to once a year. I guess it's usually in a different spot. This is my first year. I found it super helpful. There were a ton of networking opportunities. I took a shit ton of notes for you. I am here to give you these notes. In Ferry Coaching, the elite membership of Tom Ferry Coaching, which Tom Ferry, in case you don't know, is like one of the top real estate agent coaches in the world. To be in the elite, it costs about $1,300 a month. So you could say that this conference, being that it was only for those in elite coaching, these notes could cost about $15,000 or around there. So if you want to take a look at it that way, and I'm sharing it all with you for free. I took notes on my computer. These notes that I took on my laptop, I am more than happy to share them with you. I'm also going to be just telling you everything here as well. So if you're more of a video person, you probably don't need the notes. If you want to have the notes as well, by all means, drop it in the comments below. Shoot me a message. Don't call me because I do not answer my phone. Yes, I am a real estate agent that does not answer her phone, and I still do business. Go ahead and call me a millennial. The way that I do conferences, I attend some breakout sessions. Of course, you usually can't attend all of them. That was the same case here at Tom Ferry. You couldn't attend all of them. There are 3 happening at the same time. So you just choose one, or you can just be outside in the hallway networking with others. That's what I did for some of them. Even this 2-day conference at Tom Ferry Elite, there's only so much you can implement. So I made a list of things that I'm implementing into my business because that's what the stage that I'm at now. Hopefully a lot of that resonates with you. If it does, and if you have any extra questions about what I'm implementing into my business, shoot me a text. I am more than happy to talk to you about it. All right, let's begin, knowing that the most important thing that I'm implementing, I'm saving to the end of this video. If you're considering Tom Ferry Elite Coaching, I will say 2 major lessons learned about the conference. This is not yet topic related. If you're here for the content, fast forward for the next, minute. Number 1, I did not realize how many informal events were happening the day before the conference was starting. The conference started on a Monday, so I figured I would get there on Sunday, which is the day before. Especially traveling from West Coast to East Coast, you lose time. So one of my lessons learned is I did not do a good enough job of keeping up with the Tom Ferry Elite Facebook group and seeing all these informal breakout groups for team leaders and YouTubers and whatever the case was. I started getting hit up on Friday, 3 days before the conference, saying, "Hey, are you here? We're meeting up tomorrow." And I'm like, whoa, nobody told me that I was supposed to be there 2 days before the events. So that's a major lesson learned. If you're going to Elite Retreat, get there multiple days in advance. I didn't know. What I do at conferences is I always stay the day after. This is the day after the conference has ended. And I do deep work in my room, and I make sure that I'm implementing, because as you know, you go to these conferences, you get hyped up. You're like, oh shit, I'm ready to go. You get home and then it's back to family. It's back to regular grind. And you never took the time to work on the business, helping the process, the systems. That's what we as a group specialize in. We're all about the checklist. Make everything as much of a system as you can. That's us at 5 Pillars in EXP. If you're interested in that, we literally give people the blueprint to success. The blueprint, the checklist for buyers, sellers, outbound referrals, inbound referrals, agent attraction, everything. We give you the playbook, you just do it. But anyway, I digress. The second lesson learned is a couple of the breakouts I did not realize were hosted by sponsors. So kind of felt like a sales pitch. I'm sure there was still good information in there. Being just the type of person that I am, I kind of had tuned out and shut off. So just to let you know, in case you're going to these events, just like always in any conference, look up the speaker. I should have done that. I should have Googled the speaker. Do they own a business? Is that business a sponsor of the conference? Maybe I'll go to a different one. Now, I do want to make this video beneficial to you, so I do not want to repeat information that you can find elsewhere. For example, I realized that today, Tom Ferry actually released a podcast that covers a lot of what we spoke about at Elite, or rather, what he spoke about at Elite. So if you want to know what the topics were that I'm not going to be truly diving deep into anymore here in this video, check out the episode that he dropped today, February 28th, 2024. He goes over the 4 forces that are impacting 2024, hint, hint, pent-up demand, rate cuts, election year. He goes over your need to focus during this time, and he goes over front loading. More on that one later. He starts it off with talking about how to turn one listing into multiple listings. So how do you do that? How do you turn one listing and leverage that into multiple other transactions? Number one, you're going to email that listing to your entire database and say, hey, I'm not sure if this is for you, but insert the rest. Number two, throw a mega open house. Number three, instead of just a regular coming soon mailer or now in the market mailer, instead you can do a slightly different spin-off of a mailer and say, this is the first time this home, your neighbor, has been on the market in 22 years. Slightly different. Number four, which I do want to elaborate a little bit on, is if the house is a hot listing, do not close the doors. Host a 24-hour open house. Now by that, he doesn't mean 24 hours in a row, but make sure that the house is open for 24 hours. Whether that's 2 days, 12-hour-long open houses, or it's just multiple days. But even after you accept an offer, still, if it's allowed, talk to your broker. Of course, every state's different. Still have people come over and see the house. Leverage that property, even if you go under contract the next day, the next hour. Number five, immediately start working on the listing presentation with all the details from the list price to how many offers you got to the ending purchase price, the negotiations. So in that way you can take that property and tell the story later on. Number six, do Instagram posts, do Instagram reels, getting more engagement of quick quizzes. How many buyers do you think are going to be placing an offer on this house? How many offers do you think you're going to receive? When do you think we're going to go under contract? Things like that. Number seven, the how we did it mailer. This is after the fact. Hey, this house on 4712 North Palisade, we sold after XYZ occurred. Whether it's a good or bad story, don't be afraid to tell bad stories. Because guess what? One, negativity sells, but two, you start developing trust with those neighbors or with the people that you are mailing to. Wow, this is an honest realtor. She's telling the truth. It was bumpy. They're not showing just a perfect road. I like her. Of course, have that mailer have a QR code on it to a video that you uploaded. Number eight is invite all the neighbors to a home selling seminar. Number nine is write a handwritten letter to the neighbors saying the magic buyer. You know, hey, I have a buyer who is looking for your specific property, 3-bed, 2-bath, under $400,000. We have been striking out over and over again. Do you happen to know of anyone looking to put their property on the market? We have buyers and there is no inventory. And lastly, number 10 is a did you hear about your neighbor QR code. So when you're going to be sending that email of the, hey, I'm about to go meet with a potential seller, that's a subject line, this is what the description of, or the body of the email should read. I can't share too much yet, but I'm about to meet up with a potential seller who's thinking about listing their home. What I can tell you is that homes like this typically sell above ask in just a few days. Now, of course, if it's not a few days, if it's just a few weeks, obviously don't lie, tell the truth. If you already know that you want the details, reply with VIP. I'll add you to my VIP list and send you more information as soon as I can. That's great. It's short, it's simple, it's succinct. People don't like lengthy emails. You could also turn this into a social media post. But the point is, never again send a boring, just listed, just sold postcard. Those days are over. You become one and the same. You do not stand out by sending those postcards. In Tom Ferry's words, he says, just listed cards are stupid. He says, listed and sold in 3 days for $40K over ask are over. Instead, what are the potential sellers looking for? They want the story. Do they relate to that other seller? Because probably those future sellers have the same concerns as the past seller that you already helped. So tell the story. People relate a lot more to emotion. If you want an example of this, I would suggest going on stephanieyounger.com/ did you hear about your neighbor? You can pretty much set a landing page to each of your listings and talk about the specific timeline. So at the top, you can say your neighbor just sold in 12 days. Your neighbor just sold for $42,000 over asking. Your neighbor sold without having to do any repairs, something like that. And then at the bottom, it's very clear, a very timeline version of, starting at the top, your neighbor called us. They wanted to maximize the value of their home when selling. Then next step, like a timeline, little bullet, and then down, little bullet again. We started getting to work. A down arrow again with the next thing on the timeline saying, we attracted 120 potential buyers. Keep going and then continue talking about your marketing strategy. We received multiple offers. We went under contract 4 days later. It was a fast and efficient escrow. And then at the very bottom, you can have a very plain, don't overwhelm them. Less is more in this case. The address, the number of buyers that came in, the number of offers that came in, total number of social media views, and the sold price. And then at the bottom after that, after they have read everything, ask for their name, number, email, and address, and say what's something like, do you have similar goals? But the overall strategy is, again, that marketing is actually like lasagna. It's layers and layers and layers. It's Instagram and postcards and handwritten letters and everything. Next up, then Tom Ferry said that he no longer uses ChatGPT. He only uses Tom AI, and that soon Tom AI is going to be listening on every one of the coaching calls, which I'm sure on their end helps with training better with the Tom Ferry coaches. And I'm sure it also helps collect information of the coaching students as a whole. What are their concerns? What are the trends? Let's make some more content about that. Let's get some more speakers, etc. Next, there was an app that I have heard about before several times. I've never used it. I downloaded it this time. It's called Palm Agent. So they showed a video of someone who has used Palm Agent and is using that to get more listings. And this girl made a reel and they inserted a lot of like B-roll footage of like Oprah, like, you have equity and you have equity and you have equity, and like people in the crowd being like, oh my God, we're just like ecstatic, right? So she was using that to promote herself as a listing agent. And she said, I have made a ton of these calls talking to my past clients, letting them know how much money they have in equity in their home. And then she adds like her own footage of her maybe calling for real, maybe not, saying, you have $126,000. And everyone, again, insert B-roll, like, woo! You know, people are just like crying because they're so happy. And then it's like back to her screen again where she's like, hey, it's as simple as me just putting in your address. So if you want to know how much money you have in equity right now, it's easy peasy. Just send me your address and I'll plug it in and I'll give it to you and I'll let you know as soon as possible. So I thought that was a really cool idea. It's very like uplifting, like, oh wow, what is this? Why is Oprah on there? You know, it was super catchy, very smart. But the overall thing, in case you're never going to watch that video, is use Palm Agent and insert addresses and let people know, hey, this is how much equity you have in your home. Of course, I have to know how much you own the property, which you can get from title. Again, ask your broker, ask your title. But that's a great way to start getting some more listings. According to Tom Ferry, Palm Agent is the best app that he has seen in real estate, which is very interesting. The keynote speaker was Nicole Malachowski, or maybe it's Malachowski. I'm so sorry. I pronounced one of those correctly. I hope at least one of those correctly. She was the first female Thunderbird pilot for the Air Force, and her keynote was legit. There's no way I can give you the goosebump effect that it gave so many others in the room, but overall, she talked about the highs and the lows, and she did super, super well in connecting those with the audience. So she's a pilot, obviously, but she gave a lot of relevant stories that we could take away as real estate agents. She talks about you need to have courage in this business. You need to have trust in others. Trust in yourself, of course, but you need to be able to trust your team. There is a reason the pilots don't serve the drinks. Now, she didn't say that. I've heard that before from someone else, but it's so true. You know, like, you cannot be doing your paperwork. You cannot be doing your operations. You cannot be the HR for your brokerage. You cannot be in charge of all the training for all of your agents. Or if you are in charge of everything, the compliance, the HR, the overhead, the E&O, literally everything, then I'm sure you are looking to get a break. I'm sure you are. She says, take the plunge and have trust in those that you have hired. You need to trust them. And the way that she told that story was that she was used to flying in the F-15, F-16. When she became a Thunderbird pilot, she never had to do the pre-flight inspection anymore. She couldn't even strap herself into her own aircraft. So to let go of literally something that could save her life, to make sure she was strapped in, to make sure that the wing wasn't, chipped, that all the nuts and bolts were on there, to let go of something so important, such as the pre-flight inspection, to give that to someone else because that person took pride in their position and that was all they were focused on doing and good at it, she could then focus on just being a Thunderbird pilot. So same thing with you. You can let go of the paperwork, you can let go of the compliance, you can let go of whatever. Well, maybe you can't let go of the compliance if you are the broker owner. Maybe you need that, or maybe you can have just an attorney. I'm not sure. Or you could just partner with EXP, where EXP pays for the compliance, each agent pays for their own E&O. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is trust in the people that you're hiring. And if you don't trust them, figure out why. And if you can't trust them, fire them and find someone else that you can. One of the very first breakout sessions that I attended was on recruiting, and they suggested ask yourself 4 questions. Number 1, what are you building? Number 2, know your leadership style. What is your leadership style? Number 3, what specific skills or qualities are you looking for in a team member? And number 4, do you have the resources and the time to help them? If not, who is going to help them. Someone that's a broker owner, I believe, spoke at that breakout session, and he suggested to put your splits on the website. It's a way to vet people. It's a way to screen people, because if they don't want that split, then what's the point of trying to chase them down? Make it as upfront and clear and honest and transparent as you can. So in that way, the appointments that you're getting, if you're going to be doing this at scale, are only with those that are actually interested. And he talked about 6 different ways to lead gen for agents, and he does 5 of the things. He doesn't do all 6. Number 1 is online, posting on Indeed or anywhere else where you can look for a job. Again, if you're in certain brokerages like with EXP, you cannot do this. So check with your broker, always, always, always. But if you're not with EXP and you can do this and you're your own broker owner, if you had used Indeed before, he suggests trying it again because the algorithm has changed. That's how he's getting 15 to 20 appointments just from Indeed. So try that. Number 2 are events, either live or virtual. Number 3 are lead magnets, which is going to be your secret sauce. Number 4, online ads. Number 5, which is the one he does not do, is cold calling. And number 6 is the email list. And he suggests if you are not prospecting for agents via email, you need to start today. So how do you start? Every Monday, he sends out 2 types of emails. The first one is client facing. The second one is agent facing. He sends emails to about 13,000 agents and gets a 45% open rate and about 3 responses every week. The subject line that he uses is something that is going to pique the interest of real estate agents. So one of his subject lines is use this to get more listings. If you think a real estate agent who is struggling and maybe wants more listings is not going to open that, you might be wrong. And then in the description, he'll say something like, this is how we sold 200 homes last year. And then give a little bit of stats, authority. This is what we're like as a team. And he also adds a bomb, so a video to him of himself with a call to action to book a call with him. And that same video on bomb or wherever, you can also post on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. What was one of my biggest takeaways from this session is to stop meeting people in person for the first meeting, which I found very refreshing because I don't know if you guys know, if you've ever been to Tucson, it takes 1 hour to get from one side to another. If you live in a large city, you know what I'm talking about. And I can't believe I just called Tucson a large city. I'm literally from the suburbs of New York. But you get the point. You going out there in person, driving up to an hour, or even if it's 15 minutes one way, if you're going to be recruiting at scale, it's not the highest and best use of your time to be meeting people in person for meeting number 1. What his process is like is the following. Number 1 is to schedule a 15-minute phone call. What I'm doing right now is a 30-minute Zoom call, sometimes 45. Number 2 is invite them to your team trainings, because why not have them see your secret sauce and get a glimpse and say, oh yeah, this is my crowd. This is exactly what we do at 5 Pillars. Every 3rd Thursday of the month, we have free trainings open to everyone, no matter what brokerage you're in. Why? Because you might vibe with us. And you might realize that we give a shit ton of value and we're all on the mission to retire early. I am planning on retiring next year. We're all just investors first. I don't want to say all because we're growing so fast, but a lot of us are investors first. So that's kind of what our trainings are like. Sometimes we have investing in car washes. Sometimes we have investing in just businesses, real estate stocks. We have some crypto, whatever your thoughts are on that. And then number 3 of what he does is then after he invites them to the team meeting, then he has a group meeting or a group interview. And if everyone likes that person, then good to go. He also mentions the list of questions that he asks each agent. And these are the questions. Number 1 is what brought you to our job posting in the first place? So experienced agents are going to tell you why they're moving, and new agents are going to say why they're getting into the business. And he says that whatever they say is what they want to be sold on. So use that. If you can help them and you can fix whatever their goal is, whatever their pain point is, help them. The second question that he asks, what are the most important things you're looking for in a team or a brokerage? Same thing. Number 3 is what would you consider to be a successful year? And this is part of his weeding out. So where if people answer in that 3rd question, I would consider success if I close 2 deals. If I close 3 deals, he says it's not a good fit. It's not going to work because he wants full-time agents because I think he does a 50-50 split, but he pays for agents to be there, so he doesn't want part-timers. And of course, it's not just about recruiting, but it's also about keeping them. You don't want to just recruit and then have people leave, so you want to focus on retention. And what does he do for retention? This is something that I'm going to be implementing into my business, is highlighting them even more. He has a leaderboard that he posts on his Instagram on the Onyx Homes, and every month he highlights the top 5 performers, their photo, their name, how many transactions, and what their volume is. Something simple, but it also makes them feel good. Oh shit, I was number 3, and it gives a little bit of competition, you know. He also does something interesting where he does stuff with points. He didn't explain exactly how the point system works, but essentially like the agents do a certain amount of transactions or they log into their CRM, which they have to use if they're on his team. But like the more effort that they do, the more points they get, and the more points they get, they can then qualify and get a free dinner, I believe, or something like that. But pretty much it's rewarding your agents. And this was refreshing to hear also because I actually just got off of a call a couple of days ago with my EXP family, and we decided that we're going to be giving weekend trips for either our agents that cap and the agents that make icon or do like 40 transactions a year. We're going to be giving them with appropriate amounts, like a certain amount of time to go vacation with their family, or a certain amount of money to have them apply that to any conference that they want to go to. So that's like what we consider reinvesting in our people. And I do want to make sure it is very clear that we do not use that in order to attract. That is against EXP. Just making that clear. The next thing is Amy Stockberger. I saw hers for a little bit as well. She has a 21 agent team that sold 450 homes. She gave us some pretty good nuggets. Number 1 is never have your agents call and say, hey, I was just wondering, do you guys have any life updates? Shit like that. People are like, did you recently have a baby? Are you looking to move? Oh, you recently got promoted? Are you looking to move? Oh, your kids moved out to college? Are you looking to move? So instead, have it be a lot more valuable. Hey, it's fall. I know that you probably need your gutters cleaned. Do you want a guy? I can connect you. Something a little bit more like that. She focuses a ton on B2B and using those B2B partnerships and rather sponsorships to be able to create client events where she doesn't come out of pocket for them. So she has like these QR codes or stickers rather that she'll place and stick all over like somebody's house as they're like, I guess as they're selling or buying. I'm not really sure. I didn't catch the full brief. But she'll put these stickers on. She's like, the owners are never going to remove them. It was so funny. But these stickers have a QR code and of course her name. So it's like amystockberger.com everywhere, or I forget what her website is. But the QR code, from what I gathered, is like a list of services that Amy is connected to, that her brokerage is connected to. So therefore, in case they ever need their gutters cleaned or garage floor epoxied or, whatever the case is, if they ever need a vendor, they know just by walking to their kitchen or just by walking outside or just walking from one window to another, oh yeah, Amy can do it. Let me just scan this QR code that's already in my house. So at that point, they'll scan the QR code, and because of your relationships with other vendors in the area, you can talk to them and say, hey, can you provide this client a discount? And because I'm putting your services on these stickers, can you pay for the stickers? And because I'm attracting agents into my brokerage, I want them to know more about all the aspects of buying and selling a home and home ownership. Can you give us a training? We go over to your business. I will connect you to everyone on my team. It's just like a win-win-win relationship. And that's just with one, do this with multiple vendors. And now you no longer have to pay for any client events, which is great. Super smart. Since I am actually stepping out of production at this time, I am not going to be doing this, but I wanted to mention this because you listening probably are still in production. So they suggested, in case you haven't already, print out and laminate your listing presentation. So that way you look more official. You're using the same thing every time. To the client, it looks like you have an actual system. And they highlighted this husband and wife couple that talks about the 90 different items of how they serve their clients. And they have that listed, printed, laminated, and they show them to the client during the listing presentation. Hey, by the way, these are the 90 different points that you will get that we offer our services to you. Now, some of these items, of course, you're gonna have to replace depending on what state you're in, what MLS you use, but there are things like it covers every single aspect of the home selling process. You can do the same thing for home buyers as well. So it's like staging and discussing earnest money deposits and explaining the home inspection process, all the way down to like number 90, which is closing the file. But think about every single step that you do, write it out. If you don't want to do 90, if you want to do 50 or 40, whatever it is, create it, print it, laminate it, and have it at all of your listing appointments. I thought that was pretty smart. I want to change the scenery. I also attended the agent attraction or recruiting session that Lisa Chinati put on, and she talked about how agent attraction recruiting is like very, very similar to listings and to not think about it too differently. In her business, she uses Broker Kit and she uses, what's it called? Market View Broker, which is $1,200 a year. I'm looking at my notes behind me here. She uses Market View Broker because you can download information that's from the MLS. You can see stats a lot easier. And why do you need to see stats? You need to make sure that you're going after the actual avatar of the person that you want to attract into your brokerage. The way that she tags these people into her CRM is contacts made, appointments set, needs evaluation, and closed. And she talks about her 5 pillars for recruiting. Number 1 is something that she says she does not focus too much time on, but that it still needs to be a pillar, is the unlicensed agent program. She said it's one of the easier ones to do, so it helps you create a pipeline. I believe she partnered with a real estate school, so in that way they provide like a rebate. They would otherwise provide a rebate to her as the broker, but she ends up kicking it back to the agent to help them pay for school. And if they do use that program to help go to school, where Lisa is pretty much like helping them pay for the school, at least some of the costs, Lisa will make sure that her or her team, I think it's just her, that they do a 5-minute call every 2 weeks while they're in school, just to maintain contact. 5-minute phone call. That's it. Again, my first calls are so much longer and I could be saving a lot of time. So I'm really glad that she mentioned 5 minutes. Then she uses the automated campaigns through Broker Kit instead of making sure that she texts via iPhone, which is very, very important. She uses Broker Kit because it's easier, it's faster, and honestly, like that pillar is kind of a lower priority. So what's a higher priority for her? Real estate schools, like whenever they have any fairs or anything like that. New licensee lists. As soon as people are licensed, get that list for those that have just passed the state exam and start calling them. Start texting them. Humanize, and that can help you build your landing page. That way you have a whole page just focused on recruiting. And lastly, agent farming. So this here is an example of something that she does to farm. She has a QR code, of course, her name, her number, and she talks about her value proposition, what makes her brokerage stand out over others. So those are the 5 lead gen pillars that she uses for her business to attract agents. But before you do that, you really have to know what your avatar is. So she says step 1 is knowing your avatar. Know who you can potentially help and know who you cannot potentially help. So she's going after agents that had a decrease in production in 2023 compared to 2022, because that probably means that they need more lead gen opportunity, and that's where Lisa's brokerage invests in Zillow and they can help them with that. She's looking for agents that sold between like 4 to 8 homes, that sold less than $4 million in volume last year. She's also looking for agents that have less than 6 months in the business but that haven't yet sold a home, because she believes at that point they probably just joined the wrong brokerage and they likely picked a discount brokerage. She says she does not go for part-time agents. Again, I don't know what her splits are, but I think it's because she runs a formal team, so she has overhead. But this is good to know. Again, kind of like refreshed my memory on who my target agent is, and it's like pretty similar, you know, like I'm looking for agents that are on formal team splits, that know how to generate business on their own, that no longer want to have team splits because we don't have team splits. Then step 2, she talks about who you are not a good fit for. So who is she not recruiting? Agents that have sold more than $4 million in volume last year, part-time agents, and agents that have been in the business for more than 5 years. My friend and I were at this breakout together. We both found that very helpful. I never thought about putting a limit as to how many years in the business that person has been in. She says it's because it's just too hard to break those bad habits or behaviors, and that because her brokerage is very tech heavy and a lot of times people don't want to keep up with the times. So, I mean, she said it a lot more politely than I do. So again, she uses Market View to pull a list and use exactly what she's looking for, what she's not looking for, to filter out, get a list of 500 agents, and then she uses those lead generation strategies to target them. She said an interesting fact too. She said about 2% of all agents switch brokerages every month. 2%. So with 24% moving every single year, pretty much 1 in every 5 agents is moving. But overall, she says about 1 in 4 or sometimes even 1 in every 3 agents will change their brokerage this year. So always be on the lookout. And you can check out her website to see what it looks like for her recruiting landing page. It's joinchinatirealty.com. She runs all of the traffic to her page. She said we could just copy her page, and that no matter what your website is, you should always have a tab for join or we're hiring. And she uses direct mail to recruit. And I don't know why I never thought about doing that. She says, again, it's not different from getting listings. And an example of what one of her mailers will say is something like, need more listings? We're here to help. I'd be honored if you were to join us at Chinati Realty and, say a couple of sentences about your culture or about your value. She tested also the difference between using a QR code and using your phone number to have them text. And she said, surprisingly, people responded more via text than they did with the QR code. And of course, she tracked both of them. So I found that interesting too. And I took a photo of this, but it's super blurry, so I'm gonna read it to you. This is one of the letters that she has sent out. Sorry, my face is like so close, but I'm not moving my gimbal. All right, she goes, hey there, we've been keeping an eye on the amazing work you've been doing in the real estate world, and we must say we are impressed. That's why we're reaching out to you, because we believe that with Chinati Realty, you can take that awesomeness, I think is what she wrote, to even greater heights. And then she has like kind of a bulleted list with some bolded words. So she goes, want more leads? We got the fix. Got craving more training? We got the fix. Looking for more fun? We're the answer. Desire more collaboration? You'll be joining a team with collaboration as part of our DNA. In need of more support? Those are super trigger words, I think, with a lot of people right now. We've got your back with top-notch administrative, marketing, and tech support. Plus, there's more. Ready to learn more? Visit us at joinchinati.com or feel free to text us for a confidential conversation at blank. We're not just looking for any agent, we're looking for you. And she has you in all capital letters. Let's make 2024 a year of growth, success, and fun in real estate. Looking forward to our conversation. Lisa Chinati Realty. So that's brilliant. And then she says that she handwrites the envelope, I believe, and somebody in this conference says that they use a wax seal to make sure that it's open. I believe it was her. And of course, do not send these letters to the brokerage address. Make sure you send it to that agent's personal address, or the broker of whatever team they're currently with will never let it go to the agent. The other efforts that she does to recruit is she spends about an hour every single day on Instagram, and she likes, comments, responds, and slides into people's DMs. But it's not like a copy and paste response. She actually takes the time to figure out what they're doing that day, what they did last week, and comment something thoughtful and personalized and kind of lengthy. She gave a couple of responses. Again, my photos that I took were like very blurry, but just comment on exactly what they may be feeling, thinking, doing, talk about them. She also is on YouTube, and she said that about 50% of those that have found her through YouTube end up joining, which I think I have found the same result, if not even a little bit higher, because those that end up reaching out, they've probably watched a lot of these videos, and that way they know to not ask questions that I've probably already answered. At that point, they know they're ready to start stepping into our trainings and really just get started. So then she did a role play with Tom Toole, and Tom Toole pretended to be the agent that was being called. So Lisa called him, and essentially they started off with, how is 2024 going for you? And Tom was a little bit hard, was, like, oh, I'm killing it. But meanwhile, Lisa was like, okay, pause. At this point, I know that he's not killing it because I got his information from Market View, and I could see the stats where he's only had one listing. Then she goes, oh, well, I love that. How are you building your business? How are you finding so many opportunities? And she's positive throughout this. She's like, oh, that's an amazing goal. Ask him what their goals are. That's an amazing goal. I love that. Then she asks, I love that, do you think that if you had more opportunities that would help you achieve your goal? And at that point, sometimes agents will say, are you recruiting me? And she says, always say yes. Always say yes. She goes, never hide it. She goes, yes, I am trying to recruit you. Is this something that might be worth the 10 to 15 minute phone call? And then if, of course, if they say yes, then great. During this phone call, this is what we're going to cover. If you'd like to join in on one of our trainings, feel free to do so. That way you can see if it's a good fit. And once we do that, I'll send you all the info to get started with us. So that was really cool, especially from someone who I hate cold calling, man. I hate it because I am an asshole to anybody that cold calls me. I don't answer phone calls. I don't think you want me to answer your call. So no matter who it is, unless it's my family, I don't answer calls. And yes, you can still do 50 transactions in a year. But anyway, okay. So then Tom Toole mentioned to not be afraid to go hard on the pitch, to go hard on the close rather, that a lot of people aren't going hard enough on the close in recruiting. And another lesson learned is a lot of people will text or call from their CRM, and people see that green dot, and that green dot automatically screams spam. So if you have an iPhone, And if you can, do this via your iPhone, because as soon as people see the blue dots, the blue messages, iPhone to iPhone, people lower their walls. So lesson learned for me is not to do this on KV Core and instead use my iPhone. Another lesson she had that she learned is to know when to take people out of the nurture system. Don't follow up on leads forever. And especially as you start getting more and more names, like she's getting like 500 names at a time every time she pulls a list, don't have everyone be in your follow-up. Make sure you only focus on the 20%. Going back to the 80-20 rule, which covers life. If you haven't heard of the 80-20 rule, please look it up after this. So the way that Lisa closes is as follows. She goes, I want you to join me. I know I can help you. And then Tom Toole has that even harder ask, and he goes, just out of curiosity, if you're looking to sell 8, 10, 12 more homes over the next 6 months, are you interested in making a switch in the next few months? He says, be confident and just make the ask. They suggested also reading the book Go for No. Then next up, we have Jason Pantana and AI, of course. Now, a lot of these slides I have already covered in my last video about Tom Ferry, which was everything that I covered at the summit. However, there was some new information, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. So they talked about if you're doing video and you need some more B-roll, that you can use apps such as Runway, Submagic, or Earth Studio. So where you can have cameras that cover all the earth and then just enter in a specific city. So Boston, Massachusetts, and you can have B-roll of exactly what Boston is. So that way you no longer need to pay for drone photographers in order to get that done. You no longer need to even get your drone license to then get the photography, to then add it to the B-roll, to then close a sale. Don't do that. I hope you're not doing that unless that's your background. They mentioned this at Summit as well, and I mentioned this in my last video as well about Tom Ferry. Using Descript and Filmora can eliminate the ums and the ahs in all videos. And Veed.io, Veed.io is a way to record 3 different segments. So you can record the same sentence 3 times and it will choose which one is the best one according to AI. Now, of course, as of now, it might be still best to have a human do this, but over time, AI is going to catch up and surpass. And you can use HeyGen to do deep fakes. Now, I forget if it was HeyGen or another one. I think it may have been HeyGen. I submitted my information, I met with somebody, and it was very expensive. So I think it's HeyGen, I forget which one, but that helps if you're gonna be doing this at mass. I am not there. I don't know if I plan on doing that, but as of right now, it didn't work for me. I know it was at least $300 a month to do it, so just beware. I can't get over this view, guys. This is so nice. Okay, next up, Jimmy Mackin with Curator. Is that how you pronounce it? Anyway, Jimmy Mackin talks about getting more listings, right? So he gave a couple of examples of text messages, emails, and letters of what to say. So number 1 is a text. Hey Tom, or an email. Hey Tom, you're gonna love this. I was on Zillow earlier today checking out your home. Since you bought the home in 2021, Zillow actually says that it's increased in value by X amount of thousands of dollars. And then you add the photo or the little, snippet of that Zillow graph, that shows all the way up. And then you can say your Zestimate is now XYZ amount. What are your thoughts on this? Again, going back to the Zestimate, I covered a lot of this on my other video. One thing that I have not done enough of, and my crew has also not done enough of, is just utilizing Facebook, just regular old Facebook, adding a photo of a prior listing of yours that you helped buy, sell, whatever, with a short caption saying something like, I sold this home 3 years ago, or, in 2019 and 2022. And since then it has increased in equity. And I did an equity evaluation today. The owners have earned more than $32,000 in the last 2 years with fire emojis, right? If you want a free equity valuation, DM me your address and I will give it to you shortly. But put that on your list to do and put that on your calendar right now to do every single week and you will close more homes. But overall, to prospect for leads, put it weekly on your calendar to send a ZMA, an actual CMA, via text, via email, direct mail marketing campaign, Instagram stories, Instagram polls, how many offers do you think this property is going to get, etc., etc. Emails using subject lines like, my client was so shocked, and the body of the email is saying more along the lines of, they cannot believe that they have $35,000 just by owning the home, they're $35K richer. Or another subject line being, how accurate is your Zillow estimate or your Zestimate? And the description of that email saying something along the lines of, hey, I saw your property, XYZ Main Street. I saw that Zestimate says 450. What are your thoughts though? Do you think that this is accurate? Question mark. Send. Enter. And he also talks about broadcast channels on Instagram, that if you do not have a broadcasting channel, that, well, you should get one. And do a deal of the week in there, because that's a way for you to message other people, and they're just listening. You can see who's opening it. You can see who's reading it. They cannot respond back to you, so it's not like a super messy, like WhatsApp group where everyone's just talking. So you can create a green screen video and say, hey, this is the deal of the week. The cheapest home on the market is XYZ, or the biggest bang for your buck right now this week in Tucson, Arizona is XYZ. And you can send that. And if you're texting these deals of the week, make sure you're texting in blue. Make sure you're texting from your iPhone. Give a little bit of the details. But now, the most important takeaway that I got from this is the fact that we all, as real estate agents, we all should be taking our marketing efforts, our goal of what we had for all of 2024, and finishing 80%, majority of our marketing, finishing all of that by July 1st. Why? Because it's election year. And I cannot believe I didn't think of that earlier. It's so obvious. Everyone knows that come election time, everyone's going to be posting about everything. Everyone all of a sudden has a degree in politics and is also a Senate member and is also part of the House of Reps, and they know what the fuck they're talking about. Therefore, finish 80% of what you're going to do by July. So my biggest takeaway from this is I have a goal of 100 YouTube videos in 2024. So I need to do about 80 of those by July 1st. And that really means uploading 80 by June 1st, since I use a specific platform to help me edit and it takes a while. So I am really feeling the crunch. Of course, Tom Ferry, being the guy that he is, he's like motivating you, right? So like you never leave saying, oh man, I'm like doing well. You always leave being like, oh shit, I need to do more right now. Like stop, pause all vacations. I need to work more. Let's get this done, which is great. Like that's why I love listening to like the Tom Ferry podcast. So my biggest question to you as a real estate agent is, what of your marketing efforts are you going to front load?